Chapter 3, Through the Veil by Arthur Conan Doyle. He was a great shock-headed, freckle-faced borderer, the lineal descendant of a cattle-thieving clan in Liddesdale. In spite of his ancestry, he was as solid and sober a citizen as one would wish to see, a town councillor of Melrose, an elder of the church, and the chairman of the local branch of the Young Men's Christian Association. Brown was his name, and you saw it printed up as Brown and Handicide over the great grocery stores in the High Street. His wife, Maggie Brown, was an Armstrong before her marriage and came from an old farming stock in the wilds of Teviot. She was small, swarthy, and dark-eyed, with a strangely nervous temperament for a Scotch woman. No greater contrast could be found than the big tawny man and the dark little woman, but both were of the soil as far back as any memory could extend. One day, it was the first anniversary of their wedding. They had driven over together to see the excavations of the Roman fort at Newstead. It was not a particularly picturesque spot. From the northern bank of the Tweed, just where the river forms a loop, there extends a gentle slope of arable land. Across it run the trenches of the excavators, with here and there an exposure of old stonework to show the foundations of the ancient walls. It had been a huge place, for the camp was 50 acres in extent, and the fort 15. However, it was all made easy for them since Mr. Brown knew the farmer to whom the land belonged. Under his guidance, they spent a long summer evening inspecting the trenches, the pits, the ramparts, and all the strange variety of objects which were waiting to be transported to the Edinburgh Museum of Antiquities. The buckle of a woman's belt had been dug up that very day, and the farmer was discoursing upon it when his eyes fell upon Mrs. Brown's face. "Your good Letty's tired," said he. "Maybe you'd best rest a wee before we gang further." Brown looked at his wife. She was certainly very pale, and her dark eyes were bright and wild. "What is it, Maggie? I've wearied you." "I'm thinkin' it's time we went back." "No, no, John, let us go on, it's wonderful. It's like a dreamland place. It all seems so close and so near to me. How long were the Romans here, Mr. Cunningham?" "A fair time, ma'am. If you saw the kitchen midden pits you would guess it took a long time to fill them." "And why did they leave?" "Well, ma'am, by all accounts they left because they had to. The folk round could thole them no longer, so they just up and burned the fort aboot their lugs. You can see the fire marks on the stands." The woman gave a quick little shudder. "A wild night, a fearsome night," said she. "The sky must have been red that night, and these grey stones, they may have been red also." I think they were red," said her husband. "It's a queer thing, Maggie, and it may be your words that have done it, but I seem to see that business aboot as clear as ever I saw anything in my life. The light shone on the water." Aye, the light shone on the water, and the smoke gripped you by the throat, and all the savages were yelling. The old farmer began to laugh. "The Letty will be written, a story aboot the old fort," said he. "I've shown many a one o'er it, but I never heard it put so clear afore. Some folk have the gift." They had strolled along the edge of the fosse, and a pit yawned upon the right of them. "That pit was 14 foot deep," said the farmer. "What do you think we dug out from the bottom, O.T.? Weel, it was just the skeleton of a man wi' a spear by his side. I'm thinkin' he was grippin' it when he died. Now, how cam a man wi' a spear doon a hole 14 foot deep? He wasna buried there, for they aye burned their dead. What make ye o' that, ma'am?" "He sprang doon to get clear of the savages," said the woman. "Weel, it's likely enough, and the professors from Edinburgh couldna gie a better reason. I wish you were I here, ma'am, to answer or difficulties essay readily. Now, here's the altar that we found last week. There's an inscription. They tell me it's Latin, and it means that the men o' this fort give thanks to God for their safety." They examined the old worn stone. There was a large, deeply cut VV upon the top of it. "What does VV stand for?" asked Brown. "Nobody kens," the guide answered. "Valeria Victrix," said the lady softly. Her face was paler than ever, her eyes far away, as one who peers down the dim aisles of overarching centuries. "What's that?" asked her husband sharply. She started as one who wakes from sleep. "What were we talking about?" she asked. "About this VV upon the stone." "No doubt it was just the name of the legion which put the altar up." "Aye, but you gave some special name." "Did I? How absurd. How should I ken what the name was?" "You said something, Victrix, I think." I suppose I was guessing. It gives me the queerest feeling, this place, as if I were not myself but someone else. It's an uncanny place, said her husband, looking round with an expression almost of fear in his bold gray eyes. I feel it mysel. I think we'll just be wishin' you good evenin', Mr. Cunningham, and get back to Melrose before the dark sets in. Neither of them could shake off the strange impression which had been left upon them by their visit to the excavations. It was as if some miasma had risen from those damp trenches and passed into their blood. All the evening they were silent and thoughtful, but such remarks as they did make showed that the same subject was in the mind of each. Brown had a restless night, in which he dreamed a strange connected dream, so vivid that he woke sweating and shivering like a frightened horse. He tried to convey it all to his wife as they sat together at breakfast in the morning. "It was the clearest thing, Maggie," said he. "Nothing that has ever come to me in my waking life has been more clear than that. I feel as if these hands were sticky with blood." "Tell me of it, tell me slow," said she. "When it began, I was oot on a breeside. I was laying flat on the ground. It was rough, and there were clumps of heather. All round me was just darkness, but I could hear the rustle and the breathin' of men. There seemed a great multitude on every side of me, but I could see no one. There was a low chink of steel sometimes, and then a number of voices would whisper, 'Hush.' I had a ragged club in my hand, and it had spikes of iron near the end of it. My heart was beaten quickly, and I felt that a moment of great danger and excitement was at hand. Once I dropped my club, and again from all round me the voices in the darkness cried, 'Hush!' I put out my hand, and it touched the foot of another man lying in front of me. There was some one at my very elbow on either side, but they said nothing. Then we all began to move. The whole breeside seemed to be crawling downwards. There was a river at the bottom and a high-arched wooden bridge. Beyond the bridge were many lights, torches on a wall. The creepin' men all flowed towards the bridge. There had been no sound of any kind, just a velvet stillness. And then there was a cry in the darkness, the cry of a man who had been stabbed suddenly to the heart. That one cry swelled out for a moment, and then the roar of a thousand furious voices. I was runnin'. Everyone was runnin'. A bright red light shone out, and the river was a scarlet streak. I could see my companions now. They were more like devils than men, wild figures clad in skins, with their hair and beards streamin'. They were all mad with rage, jumpin' as they ran, their mouths open, their arms wavin', the red light beatin' on their faces. I ran, too, and yelled out curses like the rest. Then I heard a great cracklin' of wood, and I knew that the palisades were doon. There was a loud whistlin' in my ears, and I was aware that arrows were flyin' past me. I got to the bottom of a dike, and I saw a hand stretched doon from above. I took it and was dragged to the top. We looked doon, and there were silver men beneath us holdin' up their spears. Some of our folk sprang onto the spears. Then we others followed, and we killed the soldiers before they could draw the spears out again. They shouted loud in some foreign tongue, but no mercy was shown them. We went o'er them like a wave, and trampled them doon into the mud, for they were few, and there was no end to our numbers. I found myself among buildings, and one of them was on fire. I saw the flames spoutin' through the roof. I ran on, and then I was alone among the buildings. Someone ran across in front o' me. It was a woman. I caught her by the arm, and I took her chin and turned her face so as the light of the fire would strike it. "Whom think you that it was, Maggie?" His wife moistened her dry lips. "It was I," she said. He looked at her in surprise. "That's a good guess," said he. "Yes, it was just you. Not merely like you understand. It was you yourself. I saw the same soul in your frightened eyes. You looked white and bonny and wonderful in the firelight. I had just one thought in my head, to get you awa with me, to keep you all to mysel in my own home somewhere beyond the hills. You clawed at my face with your nails. I heaved you over my shoulder, and I tried to find a way out of the light of the burning house and back into the darkness. Then came the thing that I mind best of all. You're ill, Maggie. Shall I stop? My God, you have the very look on your face that you had last night in my dream. You screamed. He came running in the firelight. His head was bare, his hair was black and curled. He had a naked sword in his hand, short and broad, little more than a dagger. He stabbed at me, but he tripped and fell. I held you with one hand and with the other. His wife had sprung to her feet with writhing features. "Marcus," she cried, "my beautiful Marcus. Oh, you brute, you brute, you brute." There was a clatter of teacups as she fell forward senseless upon the table. They never talk about that strange, isolated incident in their married life. For an instant the curtain of the past had swung aside, and some strange glimpse of a forgotten life had come to them. But it closed down, never to open again. They lived their narrow round, he in his shop, she in her household, and yet new and wider horizons have vaguely formed themselves around them since that summer evening by the crumbling Roman fort.